So for those of you on the interwebs, I'm Jason Lawner. Welcome to yoga with alignment. For alignment always sounds a little weird. So that name got given to me by a studio, and I was like, sure. I don't know what to call this. I've always been a big fan of calling things yoga, like the broad yoga, because I think the names are always so confusing to begin with. And I think there's almost making this point of yoga is a very broad topic. And it is so interesting how in the yoga community, there is this like want to kind of separate everything out. Oh, what style do you do? Oh, I'm this type of yoga practitioner. And I'm sure a lot of you know, yoga practice in the form that we're doing it on a yoga mat is like a very small, bit about what yoga is really about. And there's lots of yoga practitioners that don't do a goddamn thing on a yoga mat. Like the yoga exists in other ways, in singing, in study, in all of these ways that you are really refining yourself and your connection to the world that you live in. And even, trying to give it a definition is a little tricky because there's so many diverging streams of thought that all get put under this umbrella of yoga, but kind of like to oversimplify something that I really shouldn't, we're talking about engaging the world in a more skillful way. I like that, and yeah, maybe, for the most part, that's a really good definition to think about. It's not this thing that, oh yeah, yoga, we're bringing two things together. That's what a lot of people will say. Well, if you're coming from the idea that everything's already together, then it's just how do we remember that? How do we recognize that? How do we live our lives in a way that affirms that and reminds us when we're having a bad day? So kind of, this, whatever your reasons for coming to yoga, and they're all valuable. It's good to take that moment and think about, like, why do you practice? What is it really? Day by day it may be different, but what are those things? And then you get to sit in this like, oh yeah, we get to practice yoga, and it may look weird and different, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the poses that we do. It matters the way that you connect and the value that you get from that. So sit up tall, close your eyes. And take a few breaths to settle. And I think all of these asana practices, the body practices, hopefully share some mindful components. The way that we're doing these poses really makes it much more of that kind of yoga. So taking the time to check in, to settle, to take a few big breaths, to soften your eyes, to relax your skin as you sit up tall, and then hands together in front of your heart. And we'll sing. Things are rattling. So 3 ohms, 1 round of the invocation. Take a deep breath. Sajitananda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase. And you can bow your head, release your hands, and open your eyes. I've gotten so spoiled playing my good one at home that this one now drives me crazy. There's something in it. There's something in it. All right, hands and knees, all fours to start. And then spread your fingers wide, grip the floor. Make the arms strong from your fingers all the way up. So you're really pulling, you're drawing the strength of your muscles up. And then move around. Take some time to work through the wrists, to work through the shoulders. And then start just changing the position. So you can turn your hands out. You can turn them really all the way out and even all the way back in. Making sure the strength part is happening first. I don't know if that does much, but it's festive. Once you've worked through those positions, go onto the back of your hands. So you're going to flip down on the back of your palms, and you're pressing the fingernails down. If the elbows need to be bent at first, don't put a ton of weight. Try to actually pull your wrist away from your hands. You can go straighter as you're able to hold that strength, that action. Keeping your breath moving nice and smoothly. Yeah, awesome. Then take a moment, just give them a shake out, especially if they feel like they really need it. And then downward dog, please. And bring your attention first into your hands so that you do those same actions, that you engage, you claw, you pull strength from your fingers up your arms. You get a lift through your arms when you do that. Try to do the same thing in your legs. If you can lift your toes away from the mat and it'll help you to tune in, feel some of like the shin muscles, the outer legs. But then once you have that tone in your legs, see if you can actually keep your toes down, even pressing down, but create that same contraction. Add a little stretch down through your arms. See if you can lift your seat up higher. Good. And then on a nice big inhale, lift your right leg up to the sky. Yeah. Make the foot bigger. You can spread the toes, but as if you were even creating more internal space in the foot as you stretch out. Give it one big breath as you lengthen and hold there. All the way forward, bring that foot up, come into a lunge. Find your balance. And then arms to the sky when you're ready for your first high lunge. Yeah. And even let your breath help the alignment, the connection that you feel, so that the way your feet are touching and contacting the mat, make it as calm as you can and as steady as you can. Some of that's effort, some of that's kind of letting go a little bit. And as you press your feet down into the floor even heavier, rise up, reach up. You can look up towards your hands, lift your shoulders up towards your fingers. Good. Bring the hands to the floor, go all the way back, down dog.
And then left leg to the sky on the next breath. And when you make that foot bigger, think about doing it with, you're going to create some tension, but not like tight and over tension. Make it a balance. So there's even a little softness in the skin as you reach out. And that stretch, doing it like that, should feel different, like to your nervous system, to more than just, the muscles. Good. Big step forward into a lunge. Come on up. And then arms to the sky. And in the upper body, the breath is literally, your lungs are there. So if you breathe in a way that creates more spaciousness, more fullness inside, but still with that softness of your skin, a soft expression on your face. And then drive down through your legs as you reach up a little further, as you make the pose a little deeper. But see if you can keep softening. Give it one more breath. Good. And then hands to the floor. Back to downward dog. Inhale your way to the top of a push-up plank pose. And lower. Press the feet down as you work up into cobra pose, your first back bend. And then back to downward dog. Take the right leg to the sky. This time add the twist, so bend the knee and open up. And still play with that idea of like the foot got bigger from inside, a little more spread through the toes, but even through the bones of your foot. Add stretch, see if you can maintain that. Take your bottom leg and try to anchor it further back. Yeah, good. And then step forward, another lunge. All the way up. The breath informs the way you move, informs and really helps your posture. Arms to the sky when you're ready. Because it's amazing how when you move slowly in yoga in general, you're going to hold yourself just with better posture, in a better position. And that has such a powerful effect on the way we feel. Plug your feet into the floor, make the sides of the waist lengthen up, make the rib cage bigger on all sides. Think about the back of your waist. Good. And then bring the hands to the floor. So pause with your hands in line with your front foot and then twist. Take your right arm up to the sky. From there, you can even walk your bottom hand further and further to the left so you can add back bend as you please. But keep the back leg lifted and strong, your front heel heavy. Let the breath help open you. Let the breath make it easier to turn your chest to the sky as you lean back. Good. On the exhale, bring the hand to the floor. Beautiful. Step back, downward facing dog. And then plank pose. Inhale, move forward. Exhale and lower. Cobra or upward dog. Ooh. And then downward dog. Left leg to the sky, inhaling as you do. Bend the knee, open it up, and twist. And so it's asking you, with the kind of cueing, to not make it just about the stretch or the sensation, but to make it, if you can connect and feel more of your body as you do this. And I know that takes practice and time to really, get more skilled at that. You guys are doing great. Step the left foot forward, another lunge. Come on up. Let the feet settle a little bit as the arms go up. Think about it in the hands and in the arms. So your fingers are spread, but there's a difference. Try the opposite. Squeeze your fingers together. It's like there's a blocking in the wrist and the hand when we do that. And the same thing would happen if you overspread your fingers. You like crank them out. So you find full, like the fingers are definitely spread, but there's a softness. The back of your hand, the front of your hand stretch equally. So the hand is really like you could flatten it between, two boards. And just that little shift make the shoulders lengthen all the way up through that little refinement in your hands. Oh, good. Bring the hands down and then into that twist. Left arm to the sky, roll open. And you can stay close to your front foot if that feels good. You can walk the hand. They're really different. It's not like one is necessarily deeper. They have different challenges. Widen through the shoulder. That bottom arm, that bottom shoulder moves down and the whole chest lifts. Use that to rotate, to turn your ribs up, to actively stretch your head back. And then hands to the floor, back to downward facing dog. On the inhale, plank pose. Exhale and lower. Up dog or cobra. Good. And then back to downward facing dog. Bend your knees, exhale, and then at the bottom, jump forward at the bottom of the breath. Lining your feet up so that they are parallel. You can go as narrow or as wide as you want to. And then pour the neck, the shoulders down. Let the spine get heavier, get longer. On an inhale, lift your chest and lengthen. Keep the hips moving back as your chest moves forward. Take one more breath, see if you can fill it up even more. On the exhale, fold. Do that again. Inhale, halfway up, hips back, chest forward, and fold. So pass through that shape as you stand all the way up. Root the feet, lift the chest, and come on up. Yeah, you can take the arms overhead, ground your feet and stretch. Grab hold of the right arm. And think a little more about the back side of your body because we tend to lose that kind of connection as you do this little side stretch. You can literally, you can even pull your belly in a little bit, but you can actually pull and help the shoulder blade to move up a little bit. Don't just like crank. You want to drive through the top arm as well. Good. And then come back up and switch. For me, asking all those little questions to you makes the yoga for my brain happen more. I'm like not just doing mindlessly. It's I got to think about it. I have to make these little adjustments, these little movements, and kind of feel what happens, what changes, and then come back up. Good. And then release the arms. Bend your knees, sit back into a little squat. Belly in, lift your chest. And then the arms can go out, they can go over your head, they can stay right there on the top of the thighs. And think, as you draw the belly in, you definitely want some strength in the abdomen, but it's there to balance what your back muscles are doing. And the more you try to sit up tall and take your hips back, all those spinal erector muscles are going to engage a little more. So see if you can kind of find a little more balance. So it's not just the front or the back. When you get it right, it kind of softens things. It makes it a little less, intense feeling. Give it one more big inhale and then dive forward. Take one more full breath as you fold here. And then step your left foot back so you're stepping into a lunge. Bring your back knee to the floor. And walk your hands to the inside edge of your front foot. From there, you're just going to start to work around into the legs. lunging, maybe working down into the forearms. Sarah, you have water? As I choke on the almonds I ate on the way over here. That's usually one of the snacks. If I'm hungry walking out the door, I put like a handful of almonds in my pocket and then I eat them as I'm driving over here. And it's never the best thing because I'm usually like choking on them, or I have like almond bits in my teeth. Great luck, you know? I don't know why. I'm telling you this because I've missed having real classes where I can like look at people and talk to you a little bit. Because why not? All right, give it one more breath as you try to press down through your legs. Yeah, and then come back up, switch your legs. Yeah, you can do fancy switches. And then once you get into that second side, same deal. And explore. We're just starting to kind of work into deeper range of motion. So, you can rock a little from side to side as you go there. You can pulse down and back. But make sure as you go deeper that you're not like letting go of your muscles. That you still can keep your front foot heavy. And you're always moving with control. Good. And then one more breath. Good. All right, come on up, step back, down dog. And take a pass through that vinyasa to plank pose. Chaturanga, cobra or up dog. And then down dog. Step your right foot forward, warrior two. So back foot turns down so that it's parallel to the short side of your yoga mat. And a good kind of like the thing most teachers will say is your front heel to the arch of your back foot. But try to keep your hips, if you look to the side of your mat there, your hips and your shoulders in the same squared to the side position. So you're not twisting. And that's kind of tricky. And you might feel like if you move your feet a little bit, it can help to do that. And it's a good thing to do as you're learning this. And then try to make the feet feel equally heavy as you press down and firm your legs and stretch into the floor. Do the same thing in your arms. Make that back arm, your left arm, kind of just as important as the front arm. Know, without necessarily looking at your back arm, where it is in space. Good, really good. And then lean back. Take the right arm to the sky. Hold that tall stretch as you ground your feet. Lift your belly. Inhale back, warrior two. Interlace your fingers behind you. Bow forward inside your legs. And as long as the legs, that front knee staying stacked over your ankle, you can take your upper body and swing it both directions. If you go towards your left leg, your back leg, or your front leg. And notice your front knee is going to want to kind of dance around and move, and your back hip is going to want to pop forward in different positions. So but you may find, different parts of your low back or your hips that need your attention. And you're maybe kind of you're learning something about whatever's going on inside. Give it one more breath as you press your feet down, as you stretch out long through the arms. Good. Keep your chin lifted as you come back up, warrior two. From there, just straighten through the front leg, down into triangle pose. Taking your time, potentially, to get all the way down. I love it, Joy, that you come prepared with the blocks. I know. This is like, and you too, Bailey. Sorry. There's a lot of you that have yoga blocks here. Kelsey's rocking them. I can bring you blocks. Good. Give a little stretch, a little length to the legs. Feel like you had support behind your head and upper back as you try to lean back. Not by just cranking the head back, but by filling into the back side of your torso a little more. And you can do that even just with your breath, as if you were able to breathe more into the part of your back body, the part of your body that you don't see. Hold there, give it one more breath to stretch. And then take the hands to the floor all the way back, down dog. Feel free if you want the vinyasa, you may go through those poses. And then step your left foot forward, coming into Warrior Two. Take your time to get ready. Take your time to get set up. Like, more important than telling you, like, this is how to do the pose, is giving you tools and then having you learn and pay attention. It's like always a good thing if you look at where your feet are, or you kind of set yourself up. Your eyes are really helpful. And see if you can add that more equaling through the front and back leg. So the back leg needs a little more strength. The back leg needs to plug down heavier to find that balance. Again, look over your front fingers, but in your mind, see your back hand. Know how you're holding it. Make those little adjustments so it feels best. And then inhale, left arm to the sky, lean back and stretch. Inhale your way back to that Warrior Two and interlace your fingers behind you. Switch, do the other finger on top, so the second interlace, and then start to fold forward as you pull your hip crease back. As you try to maximize the length of your abdomen when you fold forward. So you're not just like dumping into this, but you keep an energy through the column of the spine. Again, and it's fun. Like, if you can keep your front knee from not wiggling around, yeah, maybe play with that. Take your upper body, move it a little towards the right and towards the left. There's a lot of stuff, and your hip joint is like a really solid joint. So it's connective tissue, it's muscle, there's so much that you could, and it might not be just your hips, but there's so much that you can affect. So yeah, feel free to figure it out. I feel like anytime I get onto my yoga mat, I go, oh my goodness, I didn't even know that was tight. Like, oh, that's been sore, that needs me to listen. All right, lift your chest, come all the way back up. Warrior Two. And then straighten your front leg. Hinge your way down, triangle pose. Creating that space inside first, and then sliding the skin on your ribs more back, making the back part of your rib cage full. A cue that I like is if you think about breathing as if when you inhale, you can direct your air into the back of your lungs. And making just that little extra softness still radiant and full as you stretch down through your legs, as you reach the arms apart. Take one more big breath there. Awesome. Good. And then stand up. So you're just going to come back up to where you were. And then turn your feet so they're parallel to each other. Fold forward and touch the floor. So you're going to play with going a little wider. First thing is press your feet down, firm up your legs, and do this like really you're going to squeeze pretty firmly for a couple seconds. So really try to tighten up your legs as much as you possibly can, like quads tight. You can feel like you're snapping your legs together. And once you've held that for a good 5 seconds, relax and see if you can slide your feet apart, if you can get a little deeper. And then just do it again. So, squeeze and contract inner thighs back as tight as you can. You're flooding the muscles with blood. That engagement helps to turn off the stretch reflex. And then when you relax, maybe you see if you can go a little further. You can use your hands as much as you need to support here. One more time. Big, firm, like really overdo it. Really activate every part of your legs as much as you can. And then drive down and stretch like you're trying to stretch your yoga mat with your feet apart. All right, you're probably going to have to wiggle your feet back together to get out of this. And then just walk your hands to the front of your mat, downward facing dog. From there, inhale, plank pose, top of a push-up. Exhale all the way down. Good. All right, so on your belly, right arm out onto the floor. And then bring your shoulder down into the floor, or the head of your arm bone into the floor. From there, you're going to turn and roll onto your arm. So you can rock, you can turn deeper and deeper. But whenever you start to feel some of the stretch, pause to get heavier, even just to let the weight of your skeleton relax down. And then you can try to go further and further. But, basically it's like check in when it starts to feel tight. What are the things that you can do to make this feel a little better, to make the body more at ease? Sometimes you do need to squeeze a little bit more. You don't want to just be totally flopped. But a lot of times when the pose gets tense or our shoulders give us trouble, we'll hold tension more than we realize. Looks good. Okay, come on out and go back to center and then second side. So other arm down. Do it so you can see me this way. And use the other hand to press yourself away. You could fling it behind you like a little counterbalance or weight. You can even play with the fingers that are touching the floor. The more you activate and claw, the more muscle tone's going to happen in your shoulders, the more blood flow gets in there. So you can use that by increasing, clawing the ground a little bit, then backing off, and using that to help loosen you up, to help make it easier to go further. Always with good sensitivity. Awesome. All right, come on out. Back to the middle. And then back to downward facing dog. Lift your right leg up to the sky. Step forward into a lunge. And then come on up. Yeah, you can do arms overhead or you can keep them by your side. But wherever your arms go, your shoulders, your chest still lifts. So instead of, the arms go down, don't let it pull your shoulder joint down, but do it with breath. So underneath your armpits floats up more. From there, we're going to lean forward, step up, find your balance. You can fold deeper into this, or you can make it a little easier at first. Still, that big full breath, that fullness inside. Good. Now cross your lifted ankle over your knee or your thigh like this. So you make a 4 shape. And then take the hips back, see if you can squat. You can give a little help to press the thighs down, keep your chest open. Good. All right, so now come on up and you're going to cross this knee even tighter. So you're going to try to slide it over if you can. So this gets a little tricky, especially if you got thick legs, big leg muscles. Keep your knees together, and then you still try to squeeze your ankles towards one another as well, so the legs compress each other. From there, squat down a little bit. Good. Take your right arm is going to go underneath your left arm is going to go underneath your right arm. As you squeeze down, draw your belly in, lift your arms up. I'm making you now I'm teaching what, a vinyasa class. Okay, so take the top leg, unwrap, step back to the lunge. Keep the arms in that wrap. If the wrap is too much, you can do this, like the hands like this, squeezing the elbows. It's actually a really great little shoulder thing. And then press down through your legs, through the whole torso, rise up and curl open a little more. Start to coil the head back and the arms over your head. And whenever you kind of get a little stuck, pause, go back to the feet first, settle, the front heel heavy. Give that squeeze, that embrace, if you will, of your forearms against one another, and then one more breath, open. Awesome. Take the hands to the floor, step it back. Down dog. You can go vinyasa, you can go through plank, or just rest. Is that too many push-ups today, Sarah? What was that chaturanga? Cool. All right, when you get back to down dog, step your left foot forward, high lunge. There's like a kind of a beauty and an artistic nature when you soften, when you fill up, that comes to these poses. Like less mechanical, less, exercise shapes that you're trying to nail. Like you make them kind of beautiful from inside, like your own version of this. You're going to step forward and you can change the arms, come up balancing. You can tip down into it to make it more challenging. You can stay up pretty tall. Stay broad through the chest, through the shoulders. Good. And then that lifted leg, as you stand up, cross it over your thigh, your knee. Draw that knee back with the strength of your legs. Sit down into a squat shape. So using it as a preparation for the, crossing the knees even deeper. So get in deep crease, deep flex in your hip joint. Awesome. All right, so now stand up a little and slide that knee all the way over. And then try to squeeze the ankles together. So yeah, I didn't say it on the first time, but you can cross the toes behind as long as there's a little wiggle room. I wouldn't force your knees to do that unless it's right there. I've long been nah, don't want to do that anymore. Why? So then you hug in, you create that leg to leg connection. Bring your right elbow under your left elbow, wrapping the arms in a similar way. And then you try to sit down in the legs, but stay tall in the upper body. Keep the elbows hugging towards one another as you lift through the fingertips. So now, top leg, unwrap it. You're going to just step back to the lunge. And take your time. If your balance suffers there, press your front heel down. Let your front hip get a little heavier. And then open up. Belly up, chest up. And start curling and coiling back. Wherever you look deliberately, like actually like look at something, but look softly. Like look almost like it's lovingly. And amazing how like thinking those qualities changes the effort, the way the pose can work. Give it one more breath to plug your leg down, to rise and open up. Good poses. Nice. Hands to the floor, back to downward dog. And then you can move through that vinyasa. You could rest in child's pose, do what feels good for you. Oh, I can't wait for the day where I can like run around the class. Well, I don't think it's coming soon either. All right, just come on down so you're on your hands and your knees, you're on all fours. And then take your right arm, thread it under, so we're going to do a twist down on the shoulder and the cheek or the side of the head. Use your free hand to press you open. You can then, if you can get your shoulder, top shoulder pulls back like that. And then you can start to walk the hand over the head. Don't be so quick to yank your hand over there because you'll lose leverage if you go too far. So you want to be able to suck your shoulder blade back and then open up, taking the hand further. Those knees heavy, but also the head and the arms. You're not just like laying on the floor, but actually push down. It'll tell you if you're in the wrong shape too. If your neck gives you any, problems there, it's like something's a little misaligned. It's easy to be because we're in this weird twisted pose. Good. All right. Unthread back to center. And then second side, left arm, slide it under. Because twists are, going to create some pressure in the torso. Breathe in a way that can help soften some of that pressure. That allows the muscles to relax, that creates more fullness in your lungs, so you're breathing deeply but calmly. And really make the exhales just as important as taking in big inhales. An exhale, it doesn't shrink you, but softens you. Yeah, awesome. All right, make your way back out of there. And then step your right foot forward, lunge. I'll give you two options today. You can do the thigh stretch with a twist, or same hand, same foot, if you're up for this one today. You can even, if you come up on, you're doing the same leg, you can do it with both hands. Same foot, same hand, the left hand. And then bow forward, but move your hips back. See if you can bring your butt to your heel. You gotta have the hips somewhat leaned forward so you don't end up landing on your kneecap. You want to be a little more forward above your kneecap, like on your thigh. And then keep trying to bring the foot into the butt as you lift and open your chest. This is always a tricky one. See if you can lunge forward. And once you've lunged forward, keep your hips there, but lift your chest. One more breath. Good. All right, release the foot. Switch the legs. You can definitely cushion as you need to, but if you're in the right spot, it should I mean, it might hurt a little bit, but it should not hurt the way that it does on your kneecap. Pain's a good thing sometimes. So once you get in there, say if you can get same hand, same foot, maybe both hands. Hold the foot. And then again, instead of trying to take the hips forward and then pulling the foot in, first do the opposite. Make it easy to connect the heel towards the outer edge of your hip. Then lunge. Then you're trying to dive into the legs a little more. From there, keep the hips low and open up through your chest. Grow a little taller. And then just with your breath, one at a time, a little bit deeper in, a little bit taller. Stop before the body gets into, fight or flight. No panic. You want to go like a little bit. And then I start thinking about, the things I've done to my quads in the past few days. You just take a few breaths. You tell yourself it's good for you, Doing some squats, walking up those mountain trails. Good. All right, let go of the foot. Downward facing dog. If you want a vinyasa, you can do one. Nice. All righty. Walk your feet to the front of your mat. Spend a couple breaths in a forward fold here. You can interlace and grab your elbows. And then take the belly up towards the spine. Ribs, front ribs, bottom front ribs back. And then you can push down as if you're using some of your your upper body strength to weight the stretch more. Make sure the belly is drawing in as you do that. So you're compressing, you're filling the back body. You can even do, like go one elbow and then the other. You can do gently a little sliding your torso. When you do any sliding or movement in the upper body, try to keep your hips steady so they don't swing. Because you'll get some tension, some stretch on some of the back muscles by doing that. Awesome. And then touch the floor. Squat down and lay on your back. So just getting set up for bridge pose. So once you're down, knees bent, elbows are back of the upper arms, pressed down into the mat. Take a breath and just make the chest and the ribs fill up more. So instead of, I've taught all of you exactly how to mechanically create that tone in the back muscles. But if you breathe and you make it easier for the whole kind of chest base of your heart to fill and rise up. Then from there, add the muscles. Push the arms down, push the head down, and then you can lift your hips up. And even when you get up into the pose, see if you can take big breaths and keep the ribs more lifted and full, more spacious. From there, you're going to curl from the top. You're going to start taking your butt down towards the floor. Butt drops. Breathe and keep the chest lifted. And you'll, as you try to lift the chest more, you'll feel the back muscles start to engage more, that deeper bend in your mid-spine. So you can go up and down several times. You can rest when you need to. Once you've taken a shot at resting, you can go all the way up. You can go and do wheel pose, or you can practice this again. Very nice. Same deal. Between rounds, some windshield wipers. Just a chance for the system to settle. And then you have time to do one last back bend. So when you finish, take your feet as wide as your mat and turn your knees over to the right. And then right foot on top of left knee. Give a little length to the leg and hip. You can even use your hands if you grab your left hip and give some traction to press the hip down. Might feel good in the outer hip muscles, but also in your low back. So you're really taking the ilium, the rim of your pelvis, and tractioning it. Good. Left foot on top of the right knee or thigh. Good, and then come back up center. So roll to your side. Make your way up to a seated position. You guys can turn. We're going to sit in a straddle. Yeah, so sit wherever is comfortable. Make sure your toes are pointing straight up and that your kneecaps are also straight up. So that if you're rocked back, I know we don't have like props, but sitting up on something, or even just if you grab your flush of your butt and you kind of help pull it all back so the inner thigh muscles pull back, that should help. And then press your legs down, start to walk straight down through the center. You can use your hands, but use your legs. Like you can use your hands to support yourself a little bit, but the legs push very firmly down. And as you approach a deeper bend, take the belly in, the bottom ribs back, and your hands can even help that. So you're getting longer through the torso. I think if you see me from the side, it's easier to see it. So instead of slumping down, push down as you go. I think you're trying to get the legs not to move as you hinge at your hip as much as possible. The less you curve your back, the more the hips have to do. And obviously the spine is rounding, yes. But we're just trying to slow that down because it's such a spinal position that many of us spend too much time in. Like a, kind of a short spine, a flexed spine. So come up a little so you're not at your max, like your maximum. Walk your hands a little bit towards your right leg. Pause there. Fill, pull the ribs back, turn the rib cage. And then go like another handprint or two. Suck the ribs back. Make the right side body really long. Pull the right ribs back. Keep going until you run out of space. Wherever you kind of find your limit there, start to bow, but bow even little by little because you'll tend to lose the twist you just built, or it'll want to go away. So you bow a little, and you keep trying to rotate. Rotate the rib cage, lengthen the right side of your torso. Many of you I know well enough that I've come in at some point and like put my hand in your right like belly and ribs and like pulled back because there's it's like you're creating this room, this space to twist into. Good. All right, come up a little, go back to center, and then we're going to work our way to the left side. So keep your legs pushing down, hands a little bit to the left, ground your legs and turn. Ribs back, waistline back, and then go a little further. So the hands go further to the left. And you suck the ribs back. You rotate and twist the chest. Keep going until you kind of run out of room or you feel like you have enough. And then add the fold forward again in that same kind of couple of stages so you keep the balance. That adjustment that I just talked about, when I give that to people, I know for me, like good adjustments, or they like open your eyes up or your mind up to like, oh, like that's what can happen. And that's why like it's important because you think, oh yeah, I'm totally getting this, and then you have a teacher that like goes, no, like this, or there's that much more room, and you're like, whoa, what? How do I do that? And that's kind of like, that's the point. How do I figure out how to breathe into the back of the ribs? I've had plenty of people look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, you can totally do it. Like you can put your hand there and make your breath push against that. But it took me a little bit of playing, a little bit of screwing around to figure that out. All right, back to center all the way up. Bring your legs back in. We're going to do a version. Instead of doing feet together, which is Baddha Konasana, you're going to take your feet a little further apart and a little wider. Call this Omega pose because you're making like, I don't know the Greek letters at all, but apparently that's like an Omega symbol. Press your feet down, rock forward, and you can grab your feet or touch the floor as you try to bow into this one. As you go deeper, you can use the traction of the floor to help rock you more onto the front of your hips or the inner thighs. It's just a gentler pose, but it also will kind of work into the hip capsule in a little different angle. Kind of like that. Nice. And then up to sit. Take your arms back behind you. So wide. Push the mat away. The fingers can point forward or back. I think for most it's going to feel better if they're turned out or back. But do what you need to do. Push the ground away. Lift the chest up. Take a few breaths here. Big, big breaths. Make the ribs lift. And as the rib cage and the heart rises up, the shoulder blades will pull together on the back. The throat will open. The back of the neck also long, though. See if you can, so from there, work your way onto your back. So you're kind of informing this good posture position. So I like to kind of work an elbow down, another elbow, see if I can keep it, and then a shoulder and a shoulder. So I'm like in that shape as I get to the floor. Once you get down, you can straighten your legs. You can do whatever you need. You could straighten them early, but it's just trying to see if that can change the way you lay on the floor. Bring your right knee into your chest, or just right knee in. Take the leg and twist it across your body. So with your left hand, you could hold that knee if you'd like. Yeah. And you're not trying to take the knee to the floor, you're trying to roll onto the outer edge of your hip, especially if you're real flexible. I wouldn't pull the knee down to the floor. If it's okay, you know, if you start to feel basically you're too much around your low back and sacrum, you can overstretch that area, and a lot of folks are just a little too loose and unstable in that joint in particular. So yanking on it's not a great idea. Just breathe, let the head and the shoulders get heavier, that lift through the back of your heart. Imagine if I, came and I touch where your shoulder blades are, your upper back, and I drag down your back to help the lift of the heart, the opening of the chest. Good, come back up to center, switch the legs. So right leg to the floor, left knee bends in, take the leg across your body, twist. Yeah. Smart to move into it little by little. So the spine still is energized, the head, the shoulders are heavy. And see if maybe relaxing in places is helpful to you, or where you can put that soft energy. Enjoy your breath. Good. All right, come back up to center. Both knees in. Give your legs a hug. And from there, you could do a few little kind of rocks on your back muscles, circles. Kind of find the spots that may be tender. Oftentimes, at the kind of top of your low back, so right at the bottom of those bottom ribs you feel, there's a couple muscle attachments that if you rock out to the side, you'll feel the quadratus lumborum, QL. People abbreviate them too. Especially if you were playing in the backyard with kettlebells today. Oh. And then you can do happy baby, you could do any last pose. Really, it's just letting tension out. Kind of feel good poses. When you're ready, you can stretch your legs out for Shavasana, unless you want to come up to sit. I'm going to try to help you when you lay down here. If you rock your legs, you kind of turn your hips to one side and you dig the opposite shoulder under. So if you turn your knees and your hips to the right, see if you can wiggle your left shoulder under. And then knees to the left, dig your right shoulder under. You can do that a few times and kind of wiggle your arms in. And then let the arms go. Again, you're trying to kind of claim that really tall posture. enjoy your breath. As you deepen it, as you start to move any way you'd like to. Now work your way back up to a seated position. When you get to seated, sitting nice and tall, fold your hands together in front of your heart. And let the breath come in to elongate your spine, to widen your chest and shoulders. Let the skin soften without losing that space. Try to retain the fullness that you bring in. With the eyes softly closed, that you're taking in everything with your other senses, the sounds, what you feel inside, visualizing yourself sitting here with that optimal posture, to the acknowledgement of yourself, to the way that we can deepen that connection, increase that sensitivity of ourselves and also of the world around us. Thank yourself for being here. Welcome a deep breath in. And you can bow. Namaste.